Hello my viewers and welcome back to my channel. Today we take a look into a very interesting discussion on the Israel versus Palestine conflict from an unexpected perspective. Now, in a candid and introspective monologue, a palm color man shares his insights drawing parallels between the historical injustices faced by indigenous people and the ongoing struggles in the Middle East. Now, in this video, a palm color man shares his thoughts on the Israel versus Palestine war and says it's the same as how America was built, although it's kind of different because America was built on much more violence and for a much longer time. So if people are going to be mad at Palestinians for responding to such horrible living conditions, then palm color people should be sure to be grateful so as can be that Africans, Aboriginal people, wherever palm color people have gone and truly oppressed them, they have never responded in that manner. Check out this video. I will be right back, and when I do, we talk more about this.
So I took a break from social media and posting videos and creating videos, and it happened to be right before the Palestinians from Gaza and caused harm to certain innocent Israelis, which has spurned this horrible, reaction by the Israelis. And this is important to me. My sister lived in Israel while this was going on. She has since moved away. I visited Israel in 2005, and I actually got the chance to go and meet an army major who took me to the wall or the fence and showed me the technology that they were using to monitor every move of the Palestinians. Meanwhile, on this tour, I had learned about how Israel had, these Jews had suffered and they finally got to come home. And they were just talking about the wars that they've been in. This wasn't peace. Israelis haven't been peaceful to Palestinians. They forced them to live, be born in, grow up in an actual real-life prison-like situation. If you haven't been there, then shut up, please, because Fox News and MSNBC and the rest of them aren't telling you the truth. If you haven't gone and seen for yourself and asked yourself, would I want to be treated in that manner, then be quiet. Because the Israelis weren't just responding to the violence of the Palestinians, but the Palestinians were responding to the violence of the Israelis. And it's horrible. If you haven't been there, don't know. It's horrible. Well, it's the same as how America was built, right? Although it's kind of different because America was built on much more violence and for a much longer time. And so, Jews, Europe, Americans from Europe, You hear about the stories of everywhere we've gone to conquer and control. We've tried to make darker skins feel worse and subservient to us and oppressed by our desire to win the race. And so if we're going to be mad at the Palestinians for responding to such horrible living conditions, then we should damn sure be grateful as can be that the Africans, Aboriginals, whether it was in South Africa, the United States, South America, the islands, wherever we have gone and truly oppressed them, that they have never responded in that manner. So as folks, we should be grateful for and looking to repair the harm of our culture so that we don't do this again to the people that have demonstrated the greatest amount of peace. But instead, what do? We make their lives miserable and try to create a level of hopelessness into their community. And then we paint the picture through media that they're violent. That's trickery at its finest. And that's what's happening in Palestine and Israel as we try to support the Israelis. We don't know how to support anybody other than give them more violence to defend themselves. It's a sickness. Everything is about violence with us. And then we get upset and paint a picture of the Palestinians being violent or black folks being violent. We're violent. As a Jewish man, I am no different than a Christian. We have violence. It's called all of the wars we learned about in our world history classes. We're violent. Our culture is violent. Not our skin tone makes us violent. Our cultural practices and justifying them make us violent. And yet we get to control the narrative, so we paint the picture that everybody else is. We should not only be fighting for Palestinians to have a level of freedom to live a life according to how they desire, but we should also be fighting for the same thing here in America, in the United States, that black folks should have the reparations that they deserve and repair. And we need to learn the humanity of the being a part of the healing process, because we need some cultural changes. And we should be thanking those that have endured 400 years of our violence and manipulation, that they have never responded in that way. Shows a level of strength and a level of connection and an actual godlike manner, representing what all that they're fighting for in Israel, control over the land that the biblical life was written about, proves that the actual Hebrew Israelites were probably just blacks, right? Not us. We came there in the 40s to conquer the land. And this is the result of all of our conquering. So I'll be the first to say thank you to the black folks that have uplifted us and protected us throughout the years by demonstrating a level of peace and love that we can't even understand and see. That is what the Bible's stories are about. That is the example for which we all should be living.
Indeed, palm color people should be really, really grateful, because if this was to happen, I don't think this can even happen, because if this was to happen, oh my, this is another generation. We wouldn't allow it. But as a black individual, reflecting on the words of this palm color speaker regarding the Israel versus Palestine conflict, I find his perspective both refreshing and crucial in challenging dominant narratives surrounding racialized violence and oppression. Now, his acknowledgement of the parallels between the colonization of America and the ongoing occupation of Palestine highlights the interconnectedness of struggles against imperialism and the dispossession. His recognition that both instances involve the exploitation and subjugation of indigenous peoples underscores the systemic nature of oppression perpetuated by WS. Furthermore, his critique of palm color people's complicity in perpetuating violence and inequality resonates deeply with my own experiences as a member of a marginalized community. His call for accountability and reparations reflects a growing awareness among some palm color individuals of their role in perpetuating historical injustices and the urgent need for collective action to address systemic racism and colonial legacies. However, it's important to acknowledge that while the speaker's insights are valuable, they also raise questions about the limitations of allyship and the need for tangible solidarity in dismantling systems of oppression. As a black person, I'm wary of instances where well-meaning palm color individuals may inadvertently center themselves in discussions about racial justice rather than amplifying the voices and experiences of those directly impacted by racism and colonialism. Moreover, while the speaker rightly criticizes the demonization of Palestinians as inherently violent, it's essential to recognize the complexities of the Israel versus Palestine conflict and to center the voices and perspectives of Palestinian people in discussions about their own liberation. The palm color speaker's video offers a valuable contribution to the discourse surrounding racialized violence and oppression. His willingness to confront uncomfortable truths about palm color complicity and privilege is commendable and underscores the importance of solidarity in the fight for justice. Firstly, examining the historical trajectory of colonialism reveals a pattern of exploitation and dispossession that has disproportionately affected indigenous people and communities of color worldwide. From the transatlantic slave trade to the European colonization of Africa, Asia, and the Americas, the quest for power and resources has led to the subjugation and marginalization of non-palm color populations. Moreover, the legacy of colonialism continues to reverberate in contemporary geopolitics and social structures, contributing to ongoing conflicts and disparities in wealth, power, and opportunity. In the case of the Israel versus Palestine conflict, the establishment of the State of Israel in 1948 and the subsequent displacement of hundreds of thousands of Palestinians are direct consequences of British colonial policies and Zionist settler colonialism. The speaker's critique of Palm-colored people's complicity in perpetuating violence and inequality extends beyond the context of the Israel versus Palestine conflict to encompass broader issues of systemic racism and colonial legacies. The history of European imperialism and the transatlantic slave trade, for example, have left lasting scars on communities of African descent, contributing to intergenerational trauma, economic exploitation, and institutionalized discrimination. In light of these historical injustices, the speaker's call for accountability and reparations takes on added significance, highlighting the need for concrete action to address the root causes of racialized violence and oppression. Now, this may include initiatives such as reparations for descendants of enslaved Africans, the recognition of indigenous land rights, and the dismantling of structures that perpetuate racial inequality and injustice. Moreover, the speaker's critique of media portrayals of Palestinians as inherently violent underscores the importance of challenging stereotypes and amplifying marginalized voices in mainstream discourse. By centering the perspectives and experiences of Palestinians and other oppressed communities, can work towards a more nuanced understanding of complex geopolitical conflicts and a more just and equitable world for all. Reflecting on the insights shared by this palm-colored speaker regarding the Israel versus Palestine conflict, it becomes evident that the dynamics of violence and oppression are deeply entrenched in systems of power and privilege perpetuated by W.S. Now, his critique of palm-colored people's complicity in perpetuating violence through the provision of weapons to oppress communities resonates profoundly in light of historical and contemporary examples. One striking observation is the hypocrisy inherent in labeling oppressed communities as inherently violent when they seek to defend themselves against the violence provided by their oppressors. Now, this pattern is not unique to the Israel versus Palestine conflict, but is emblematic of broader power dynamics at play in conflicts around the world. Palm-colored people, driven by a desire to maintain control and dominance, often resort to tactics of violence and coercion to suppress resistance and dissent. Now, this includes arming oppressive regimes and militarizing conflicts, thereby exacerbating cycles of violence and perpetuating injustices. However, when marginalized communities faced with untenable living conditions and existential threats dare to resist and defend themselves using the same means provided by their oppressors, they are swiftly branded as violent and dangerous. This double standard serves to justify continued oppression and perpetuates harmful stereotypes that delegitimize legitimate struggles for deliberation and self-determination. In light of these observations, it becomes apparent that palm-colored people, far from being victims of violence, are often the perpetrators and beneficiaries of systemic violence and oppression. We have finally come to the end of the video. What do you have to say? Share your thoughts as well in the comment section. Thank you for watching and see you in my next video.